Hello, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Everyone is here already. This is so fun. Let me turn that off and just say thank you so much I'm so glad you're here. She says it'll be her first load. You're already talking about load. I'm so excited. This is awesome. Okay. Here is what's going on. Can somebody give me like a thumbs up or say, yeah, it sounds good, just to let me know if the sound is right. I just want to make sure that we're on the right microphone. And for some reason, I can't actually see that it's like working on the right one. I think it is. I think we're good. So welcome. Thanks for joining me. My name is Alice Bull and I run the membership group at ScrapHappy.org. If you are the first time here, thanks for joining me. If you've been here a few times, I see some familiar faces in the room. Thank you for coming back. Hopefully that means that we're sharing some good inspiration. And yeah, awesome. Good afternoon, says Crystal. Tamara says, hey there, sounds good. Thank you so much. That really helps. So we are doing another happy at home session. Now in April, I did 5 days a week for these sessions. And in May, we did 2 days a week. And then we've taken a break, had to bring them back for fall. We had 2 sessions this month. If you missed the last one, we talked all about circles on the 16th. Now, there is a playlist here on the ScrapHappy YouTube site, and that is, you'll see it listed underneath. So if you go to youtube.com/ScrapHappy, that's where you find the YouTube, and you can see all of them there. So I put them all in that same playlist. They kind of have the little house graphic or whatever. So yeah, I'm really excited because today we're going to talk about custom backgrounds. And I think this is a good way to kind of dabble into mixed media. And if that's not your thing, there's so many ways to create your own custom backgrounds. And for me, like, I love all the pattern papers. Don't get me wrong. I love all the pattern papers, but there is something special about when you create your own artwork and kind of make this custom effect or look for your own page. Like, it kind of just puts you in the driver's seat, makes you the designer of the page, and they are some of my favorite pages that I've ever made. I have a huge stack to show you. Plus, I'm hoping that we're going to get to actually do a little bit of stuff at the end and play. So it's good. Dion says I need to go back and watch the circles replay. Yeah, we talked everything about circles and it was super fun, but we have covered so many topics. So this will kind of touch on some of the topics we've covered before. So let's see, we did a session all about watercolor. We did one about multi-step stamping. We compared inks. I'm just kind of talking about the ones that kind of affect for today. We talked about distress crayons. We talked about using your fuels, making shakers, flip flaps, pockets, texture. We had a day all about texture. If you ever have wanted to add texture to a page, I think we've talked about nearly everything. And if I missed something, I bet you it's in the comments. Yeah, it was good. That's for the circles. Stencils, tons of stuff about stencils, die cuts and cut files. We talked about mink foil. We talked about the foil quill. We talked about turnabout stamps. Like, I tell ya, we have covered so many topics. It is like a wealth of information, and I don't even know how many layouts I've shared, but it's a lot. So if you're looking for like, people always say that they're making these pages, this is like everything. I'm showing the examples while we talk about them. And while my albums are not all full yet, I have the advantage of having all of the layouts here in piles, and that lets me like bring them all together and show you. Thank you. I just saw some thumbs up coming in and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, well, let's get started. Custom backgrounds. Making them is so much fun, but sometimes it can feel overwhelming because we're like, maybe I'm not that crafty. Maybe I don't do all those things. So I thought we'd start easier. the pages, the ideas that are a little less messy, and then we can move on from there. So here is my first stack. I have this all set up, I think. We'll see. Oh yeah, some of my settings aren't working. That's hilarious. Okay, so I need my son to come back is what I need. He will help me. And let's get a little bit less glare on there. Okay, so we're gonna start here talking about ways that we can create our own backgrounds, but like super easy. So let's start with talking about like things like paper, cut paper, pieces of paper, washi tape, and die cuts. So this one here, all of these pieces that are creating my background, you can see there's a little bit of spray, a little bit of Heidi Shine Gold spray in the background, but bringing a whole bunch of your die cut pieces can make a really fun background. And you know what those packages are like? You get like, some of them have like hundreds, like literally hundreds of pieces in a die cut packet. So it's not like you're ever going to use them all up. So this can be a really good way to use up the end of your die cut pack to kind of create this whole background. And you can see how it just makes the perfect little frame for my pictures to kind of sit on, right? So I think that that was kind of fun. Another thing you can do is let's talk about these awesome die cut stencils, right? Like when you have a die cut, and here you can see I've backed them with different kinds of pattern paper in the little holes, the little triangles and squares. That becomes a really easy way, super easy, to actually get that custom look, right? Because you have the white template, depending on how much of it you fill in, depending on what colors you're choosing, which pattern papers you go with, or you could do your own custom background. I'll show you one with that too as we go through this. It gives you the chance to really create your own custom effect. And easy, right? Like I like easy. I love easy. I love playing, but I love easy. I think it's important for us to take some of the fear out, especially when we're dabbling with something that we're not really confident with. Okay, talking about pattern paper, you can make pages like this. I actually made this one in a class with Paige Evans, like so cool. But all the little pieces, look at all the little squares of pattern paper. You know when you buy too many pattern papers, okay, did I say that? Is that even a thing? You know when you buy too many pattern papers because they're all so beautiful? Doing something like this is a great way to use at least a little bit of all of them. So I think it's a pretty fun way to go about it. So yeah, use little squares, create your own background effect. Now this one is great because it's like lots of little squares, easy to do, but can you imagine taking all these papers and making strips and making sections, right? Like to break them up into different styles. You could cut a whole bunch of circles and layer some circles. So it doesn't have to be little squares to make a good effect, especially when you're using all pattern papers that are designed to work together. Now that's a huge thing, right? When you buy papers as part of one collection, they work together because they were designed for that. Dion says this easy is especially helpful during load. Yeah, when we're doing the layout a day challenge, like we start tonight. Oh my gosh. When we're doing the layout a day challenge, you need some days that are going to be easy, but easy doesn't have to mean boring, right? Like this isn't boring, this is fun. And I think we talked about grids before too. You'll notice that not all the pieces fit perfectly within the grid. Like things are sticking out, things are crossing over sections. And I think that's like a really fun way to kind of relax a grid a little bit. Okay, pattern paper, awesome. But you can kind of create cool effects using your papers. Oh wow, why does it hate this one so much? What's the deal? Come on. This is white. Okay. Let's see if we can convince it to play nice. Oh, I know. I was doing this before and it helped a lot. I had more white paper on my desk. Okay. I've got all this paper that's prepped. There, that's a little better. Okay. Danelle says, I don't understand what too many pattern papers means. I get it. I agree. Too many pattern papers. Is that even a thing? I don't know. Possibly. But but I think this is a really fun way. And you could do a version of this. This is tiny little bits of ripped paper, guys. Like, that's not hard. The hardest part about this is gluing them down, right? And you can see I've got different colors. I'm making a wild adventure page. My kids are going whitewater rafting. I've literally never done this. I'm a little bit scared to, actually, but my kids went with their uncles. Uncles are great for that kind of stuff. And you know, you can see I've added a little extra like fun into it with some of these, they call them what, magic scraps or something. They're like little shiny bits of plasticky stuff. I think so. Super fun, but an easy way to kind of create your own background. And I think we'll see some other pages where I've used similar ideas, like where you go a little bit crazy with something, but it makes a really good fun background effect. Okay, we were talking about strips of paper. Here we go, strips of paper. But you guys, this is even a bigger cheat on this page. These strips of paper, let me hold this up to you. This is one pattern paper that looks like strips of paper. I cut a chunk of it, and how great is that? It creates like all of these little backgrounds right here, and it looks like I've taken all that time, but it's one paper. Danelle said, wow, you did an amazing job simulating a river. Well, thank you. That's totally what I was going for. I thought it was super fun. So yeah, but like what else could you do with this strips? Washi tape, like, I have a lot of it. I'm guessing that a few of you have a little bit of washi tape too. And creating the strips, even if you're not doing the whole background with it, and sometimes when we're thinking of creating a background, we're thinking of the whole background, but it doesn't have to be the whole background. It can be part of this, and that can help to customize or create your look. Okay, speaking of washi tape, this is all washi tape in the background. And you'll notice, while it's not like the full background, I use this beautiful Heidi Swap paper that maybe is my favorite paper that I've ever had in my life. Her, what is it, like Magnolia Jane collection, I think? Or is it the other one? I don't even know. It was beautiful. But like all of the strips of washi tape help me add in the colors and just create a little bit of fun, while I'm also adding a little sparkle, because you can see some of these washi tapes have a little sparkle and shine to them. And yeah, sparkle and shine, that's totally my thing. Yeah, Joyce, that's perfect. She says, good use of those label strips too. Yeah, so when you need the strips, you've got those little strips that you're cutting off most of your pattern papers now, right? A lot of them have the little brand strip. So cut off your brand strip. If it has like the fun stuff on it, then you can totally use that to create these looks. So perfect, perfect, perfect. Now here is another one with a die cut, right? We've got like the big fancy cutout, big die cut, but I've put some pattern paper in behind it, and I did a little bit of watercolor on top of it. We're at the water, and I add some colors to make it look like that. I didn't want it to be like super crazy blue, so it has a little green in it, because we're at Seattle, we're not in Hawaii or the Bahamas. So April says, I have a lot of strips of cardstock from cutting 12 by 12 paper to fit into my 9-inch wide cutting machine. Yeah, when the machine doesn't fit, you cut the pieces off, you go with it, but there you go. Like, that's the kind of thing that you do, right? So this is strips of paper. Let's go back to here for a second. And So those are some really simple ideas that aren't super mixed media-y, right? Where you're getting to create your own custom looks without going full force into the mixed media. Okay, let me see. Where am I gonna set these when I'm done with them? I'll put them in a pile. Okay, so we have some more, and these ones are getting like a little further into some mixed media. So you see where we're going? We're like gonna walk you down the merry path and create some stuff. Okay, let's go back to, okay, is this gonna be friendly? And I'll lay paper here. I should like probably just get like something that doesn't interfere with my camera, or a new camera that doesn't do this. I don't know, one or the other. Okay, so this one here is super fun. We've got cardstock. This is literally cardstock, guys. Some squares of cardstock, but what have I done? I've taken that cardstock, I've run it through a texture plate, put it through my, what is that machine called? Oh, that's hilarious. I put it away for once, the Big Shot machine. So this one here is, you know, it has all these different textures, and you're seeing them again. All the pink ones have the hearts, all of the blue ones have the chevrons. Over on the orange ones, we've got the arrows. And then to create a little extra dimension, I've just taken a little sanding block and rubbed the top of the pieces. C says, Alice, are your layouts shared in the ScrapHappy group somewhere? Some of them are. Not a lot. I'll confess, I'm terrible about remembering to share my stuff. You will see them on the sketches. So if you go to the ScrapHappy membership group and you're under the members area, the sketches, most of them are mine until you actually get down to Lane. So those are all there. Oh, Janet's here. She says, hello, everyone. Alice, do you have a white craft mat? I don't. My craft mats are beigey, like really boring looking craft mats. So yeah, I don't. But yeah, so I think this was like a super easy way to get that custom look. And then depending on what your page is, you can use like more of the embossing folders if you have more. Maybe you're going to do all of them with different kinds of hearts. Maybe you're going to do all of them with different types of lines. Maybe you have straight lines. Maybe you have squiggly lines. Maybe you have chevron lines. So it gives you a lot of different options on creating a look that will go with your page. But it's simple, right? Because, you know, that mixed media, we gotta like, we'll dip our toes in that way, but you can create backgrounds without mixed media. Because I think a lot of times too, when we're thinking about creating backgrounds, we're thinking about mixed media. We're like, oh, that's what the mixed media people do. But that's not just their thing. And even our digi scrapbookers make custom backgrounds too. So it's not just a thing for them. Yeah, Misty says, I don't know if your camera might have a white balance lock. I am going to find that. My husband said there may be an app for that so that I can put on my computer. So I will find it. He tried helping me, and he had really good intentions, but he came into my room, touched my computer, and my dual screen died. And I was just like, what did you do? Where's my son when I need him? Still in bed, guys. Okay, moving on. I told you that we do like some crazy things. So you saw the ripped paper background. Well, this one kind of is similar to the ripped paper, except it's sequins. Like, if you like the bright, if you like the sparkly shiny things, like I do, then maybe you have a few sequins in some complementary color schemes, and maybe doing something a little bit wild and crazy like this would be fun for you. I will say, I thought I was going to be able to just like lay down the tape and like dump them on and kind of press them in. It didn't really work very good. So in the end, I kind of ended up kind of gluing them all on with my liquid glue. But, you know, it was done and I love it. I did a little bit of that, what is that stuff called? Like the Nouveau Mousse or something along here in the background as well, and then white, right? So I've kind of created my own little gradient on the page. So I thought that was fun. Diane says, I love the layout. Sequins look very nice. Janet, ooh my, so pretty. Yeah, and look at this page, guys. This one has a lot of journaling. So I talk a lot about journaling, especially if you go and listen to my podcast. Journaling is kind of a thing for me. There's a lot of journaling on here. I tried to really be summary of the trip, just in case I don't get more pages made. Of course I did, not a ton, but I made some more pages. At least I had the summary of the trip page. So there's a really good tip. If the first page you make about a holiday is your kind of summary page, then everything else you do is bonus. So bonus tips. Okay, want even easier than this? Look at these sparkles. I created my own background, and look at how the page, it looks like it has lights in it. It's called Light of My Life. It talks about my family, and it, we're at Christmas light, so it's all tied together. But you can see how those little sparkles just capture the light in the room, and they make this page have this really fun, very simple background. And literally, I just sprinkled on the beautiful sparkles. Kate says, have you tried using Glad Press and Seal while you're arranging and gluing lots of small bits? I have not. If that is a technique that you know of, and maybe if you've seen a video, you could drop that my way. Kate, you could drop it to me in Circle or post it in the maybe in the general Scrappy chat. So yeah, we'd like to know more because I haven't seen that one. So yeah, this is the stuff. Yeah, and if you're looking for our ScrapHappy members in Circle, in our new community that we're just kind of debuting, replays from the recent, it's funny, Circles have been on my mind, which is why we did Circles 2 weeks ago for our Happy at Home. But that one is posted in our Circle in the monthly live replay section. So yeah, super fun, super easy, really captures the look. That's an easy custom background, right? I've got sparkles on it. And here I've done another page with some texture, and I'll confess, the whole background isn't textured, but look at how cute this is. And how is that not perfect for her cute little Halloween costume, right? And if you look, it is semi-imperfect. You can barely see. I did a really good job, I think. But I had to put half of the paper through my embosser, through the Big Shot, and then I put the other half, and I lined it up as good as I could. It looks not too bad. And honestly, are you looking at that when you're looking? If you're looking at that, you're looking too close. So I just think that's a great way. We talked about it in texture, but I think that it's part of that custom background. And when we're thinking of backgrounds, sometimes we're thinking of, busy looks, and we're overwhelming ourselves, where you can do really fun things and keeping it monochromatic, or still keeping it white but adding texture to your background can really be good. I recently shared, on my podcast, the most recent episode 10 of the podcast. Yeah, Janet says, I would never have seen that seam. I did a pretty good job with it. The most recent episode, so scraphappy.org/episode 10, so episode 10, you can actually see a layout that I did with my husband, and I've got a big heart around him. But in the background on that one, if you look closely, I took some strips of white paper. It's a white background, but I took a few strips of it and I softened them with a little bit of spray, a little bit of water, and I crunched them and crinkled them, laid them back out, and then I put some of those pieces in the background, and it just adds this little bit of soft little texture, and it's just it's just so good. I'm like, oh, it's lovely. So go and see that on the podcast replay page. If you want, you can even listen to the replay. I'm talking all about, oh shoot, what am I talking about? 5 super easy tips for journaling. I'm like, it's 5 easy tips for journaling. It makes it so easy, it'll feel like cheating. That's what it is. There we go. So that's the one. Okay, so that was the last one in these layouts. Oh, this is here to keep our desk looking good. Okay. Now we're going to dive into something a little further, into some mixed media play. But we're still going to start by keeping it easy. Okay. So here we go. Have that lined up? Yeah. Okay, good. So Diane, I'll rewatch and snap photos of the backgrounds I want to try. So that's totally cool. I'm fine with it. If I'm sharing my stuff online, I'm sharing my stuff online. Like, that's generally how I feel about things. So here we go. So this one here is a stamped background. I haven't used it yet, but I stamped it, and you'll notice like it's kind of like imperfect stamping. So lots of times, okay, let's talk about that for just a second. Stamping, it's custom, you're doing it yourself, and it's not always perfect. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect to be good. So let me show you. Okay, these, I stamped them once with each color. I didn't stamp them again and again so that I could get the perfect full color flower effect. So I could get like a really bright pink and a really bright orange and a really bright green. But look at this softness. In fact, I may have even stamped off on these. These may be second value. I don't even remember. But look at how soft they look. And look at the little bit of texture that you get because of the way that I stamped them, right? So it doesn't have to have that perfect stamped look to be good. So I'm just telling you, like here, you can actually see the texture of the ink pad showing up on that flower, and that's okay. C says that totally looks just like pattern paper. So I'm going to explain to you, and actually I can even show you after, but we may run out of time. So I'll just explain to you right now what makes this look like pattern paper. For starters, when you're stamping something to create a background, stamp your big things first. So before you stamp the little ones, stamp the big ones. Spread them around. If you want to make a perfect pattern, that's totally okay. If you kind of look, there kind of are lines that go this way. And our eye doesn't necessarily read them as lines because these are big round images. But you can kind of sort of see some lines like this. They're imperfect. They're not perfect. That's okay. I'm making this myself. But the other thing that you'll do is by creating your big images first, you have the spaces to fill with your little images. And really, really important, if you want to create paper that looks like a pattern paper, you have to run things off the side. You have to have things that aren't fully on the paper. Otherwise, when they're all sitting on the paper, it has a different effect. I have another page that we might see. Oh no, I did that too. I do that almost all the time actually. So I think that looks really good. And these were all colors that go together. They were part of a color family, and lots of inks are sold in color families. So they make sense because they work together. So those are just some of the tips, and you'll see I've got different colored little stems in them, and there are errors. Look here, you see that? That's a little error, sure. See this? This is a little error. There's like a little hole in this image. And there are things you can do to limit your errors. If you have something squishy like a mouse pad that you can turn over and put underneath when you're stamping, that will help to give you more even pressure. Don't press super, super hard, but those are all things that can make your stamping a little bit better. But I look at this and I so don't worry about this. I love it. I look at this and half the time the things are going to get covered up. I'm not just creating this paper and leaving it like paper in my book, although like it totally could be, like make a little cover page, or, you know, when you add one of the pocket pages to your albums and you like have all these pockets, and then you flip over to the back and you're like, oh, now what do I put in the back of the pockets? Literally cut up your paper, put it in there and be like, done. Like, who cares if it doesn't have the scrapbook stuff on it? You can use some of your prettiest paper you've been hoarding, and then it's like never going to be ruined. Yeah, Misty says, I just use a piece of craft foam underneath, giving your stamps a little extra support underneath your paper. So just put it on your paper. So when you stamp it, totally makes better impressions. So anyways, this one here, I'm showing you this. I did not create this background paper, but what I did do was I changed the color of it. The tree was too gray, and I had these pictures that were really warm. They're taken inside this cabin. It's a wood log cabin, and we're being goofballs because we've got like face masks on. We hiked up a mountain, and my cousin's like, hey, let's do face masks. I'm like, you're crazy, but I love you. And so that was super fun. But the tree was more gray and it didn't have the right warmth of color. So I just whipped out my ink pads and I swooshed some warmer brown tones and a little bit of reds and stuff into it to make my own customized pattern paper. So I just kind of like, what would they say on Say Yes to the Dress? I jacked it up, right? Like, except in the good way. Like, are you ready to be? It's like the positive thing. You just like make it your own. You own this paper. And worst case scenario, what happens if you ruin it? I'm going to guess you have like 12 other pieces of paper that would work just as well. Might not be that one, but you know, like you have options. But using a little bit of ink, using a little bit of stamps, super fun way to add a little bit of your own custom colors to a page. This one here I showed recently in the circles. We talked about this one here, but I wanted to draw attention this time to the little bit of stamping that I did. So I have a small-ish, like it's a background stamp, but it was smallish. It was like a strip or something of this kind of chicken wiry look and stuff. And you'll notice there are imperfect seams in my stamping, but because most of the paper was being covered by the big circle, the little bits of seams and the little bits of imperfection in my stamping don't register, and it just gives this subtle little texture to background paper that is just cardstock. It's just a plain cardstock. And I don't know if this is probably sun bleaching or if I distressed it. I don't remember anymore, but it might be sun bleaching actually. That can happen. Another stamped background, right? I've got all of my little globes that I stamped recently. Which one? Did I do this during a Scrapbook Live? No, not Scrapbook Live. Did this during one event. Maybe one of our ScrapHappy togethers I was working on this one. Here's another stamping one, right? I made the little blocks and I stamped them all with my turnabout stamps from Concord and Ninth. Yeah, Beth says, I love the subtle chicken wire, right? And you just sometimes need that little bit of texture to add to it. And so it gives you that little custom effect. And like when I look back at like pictures of grandma, like she grew up on a farm in the country. And so while it doesn't necessarily relate to that page, it's one of those things that will remind me of her. So I think that's good too. Yeah, so custom little stamped areas. And so it doesn't have to be super complicated to add your own little custom look. And you don't necessarily have to stamp the whole background at once. So if you do smaller sections and put them together, if one of your little sections goes wrong, you just ditch that one and then you put in a new one. So you kind of have the option of, you know, making it what you want it to be. Let's just say. Here's another stamping one. This one I stamped the background and I embossed it all. So it has like the embossing powder on it. And it's all about Netflix and popcorn. You can see I also used these die cut pieces of the film strip or whatever. Yeah, film strip. And I layered them in here as a base for my thing to sit on. We've talked a little bit recently about creating the bases for your pieces to sit on so that everything kind of connects. And because I had my own custom background, I was able to add my journaling and then make sure that I had space for it around everything else that I was stamping. So it was fun, and this was a really great way to use all these stamps that I just had to have. And then I'm like, what am I ever gonna do with a stamp set from Legally Blonde or Clueless or Harry Potter or The Princess Bride or Star Wars? And it's totally worked because it was all about movies. This one here created my background here. They are alcohol inks. What was I doing? Experimenting. I was trying to learn what I could do with alcohol inks on paper that wasn't intended for alcohol inks because I didn't have the fancy paper, but I had these colors. So I just made this little blurry background and it made some fun background paper. Okay. So different ideas. From stamps, from inks, from using all of these pieces, right? Oh, here, I gotta show you this really quick too. This is the back of that paper, right? It's like a mess, but that's okay. It doesn't matter because we don't look at the back. So that's fun stuff. Okay. So now we're getting into something. It turned out nice. Yeah. So it was just a nice play on stuff. So now we're getting into something that I personally love. I actually found probably too many examples of this, so we'll probably go through this a little bit faster. But this section is playing with watercolor. I think watercolor is like so fun and it can be so easy. Jackie says, okay, Janet, that stamp Netflix background, talk about mood and feel. Okay, literally, we had a session, happy at home session, mood, day 16. It was, on the 16th of April, all about mood and creating mood. So you can go back, it's in the playlist for the happy at home sessions, all about moods, or you can probably just type mood in the little search bar and you'll find it when you're on my ScrapHappy page or on my YouTube page. Dion says, I like seeing all of your different layouts. So many creative ideas. Okay, so now we're gonna dive into this watercolor, playing with watercolor. I am not a watercolor artist, but I am a watercolor dabbler. I think watercolor is super fun. And like, if you get it wrong, you can dry some of it up with your paper towel. If you feel like the colors are getting too muddy, there's a lot of things you can do with watercolor. With this one, I literally swooshed yellow. I swooshed a darker yellowy. I swooshed a little bit of orangey yellow. And then I started down here and I swooshed some purple, and then I swooshed some red, and then I swooshed a little bit more pinky stuff until we kind of got into the blendy section between the two colors. That was it. Oh, and then I added a little bit of gold shine on it while it was still wet. Didn't know it was gonna happen, but it spread into the layout and makes the whole layout just a little bit glossy and shiny. Oh, I don't know if you can see it, but it's so pretty. So I love that. Not a lot of journaling on this one. Probably should have had some. Probably was going to add it here. I added this. I'm calling it good. Maybe it was just an art page. This one here, you can see I've got a little bit of orange, a little bit of pink, just sprinkled in the background. waiting to build my layout on top of. Here, a little bit of green, a little bit of aqua, a little bit of blue in the background, waiting to build my stuff on top of. You know, I've got the strips of pattern paper and color. All I've done is like one color here. I've used just this pinky peachy color. And then I guess I added these little rub-ons. These are rub-ons, I think, from Bo Bunny. Here I've got a little bit more watercolor. I've got some blues. I've got some green or some purples and pinks. But I've also done a little bit of fun with a template on this one. I played with a circle template, so I think I put the template on top and I sopped the color off from it. So just kind of fun things to play to create the stuff. You can see I've got like this little border on here with my stuff. But yeah, I think that was really fun because you can see the look, right? But I sopped up some of the extra color, or else, oh, I possibly might have even sprayed new stuff on top of it. It's all good. This one here, I cut the little hearts out and I put some custom watercolored paper in the background. So I watercolored the paper. I didn't like the look of my watercolored paper by itself. So then I cut out the hearts and I just put it in the background so you get to peek at it. So it doesn't have to be perfect because you can cover parts of it up. This one here just has a tiny little bit of color. It's like really faded blues into grays. I'm capturing the colors of the ice fishing. And this one, super bright colors, but creating this background for my layout to sit on. More super bright colors. And these ones were really, really bright actually. And it was a little more direct to the thing and applied, I think, with a dry brush. I think I dry brushed this one. And here, this one, I masked off the area where my snowman was gonna go, and then I added the colors and blended colors there. So watercolors, super loving playing with watercolors. I think they're a really great way to take that white background, because like we all see those layouts, the white background layouts that look so crisp and beautiful, and I try to make my layout on top of that and I'm like, wow, that's like really boring. Apparently when I'm making it, I don't love the look, but what I can do is borrow elements from that look by doing some watercolor or adding a little of my own color in the background, and that will help me kind of dabble in that white clean look while not being too white and clean. So I think that's it's kind of like a good compromise for me. Okay, so we talked a little bit about colors in like with watercolors, but another thing that I have a lot of fun playing, well, the watercolor ideas looked really fun, and really it's a matter of like the messier you are with it, like just like smooshing it around. And if you actually use watercolor, I actually buy the 12 by 12 packs from Prima. I shared that on the watercolor day. So I buy the 12 by 12 packs, so it's just like ready to go in the right size. And the more using watercolor paper definitely helps. You can use regular paper as long as you don't use too much water. It's kind of like slight soft brushes when you're using non-watercolor paper. Like the one where I had the die cut with all the stripy lines across it, like I said it's in Seattle, so I wanted some greens in it. That one was like, you get like one brush across and that's kind of all in that one spot. Otherwise the paper will get too wet, too bendy, it'll like tear or you know, kind of pill up, right? Like, you know, when it like you've destroyed the surface of the paper, like it happens. But you know, if it's not watercolor paper, a light hand. And if you're going with watercolor paper, water's great. So those are kind of like the two options with that. Okay, so this one here is a background paper that had the words already across the background, and they have a little bit of texture. They're a little bit of shiny and glossy. But what have I done? I wanted to create more of a galaxy, starry night sky look for this. And so I used a mask from Heidi Swap to create the little constellations on here with a little bit of ink. And then I used a little bit of spray to create a little more of a Milky Way kind of effect on there. Just something kind of simple. And here, more spray. And so when I do spray, I have a really great tip for you. You can get a box and put your layout in the box. Or another thing that I really like to do is, well, that didn't help too much, did it? Okay. The other thing that I like to do is to take my layout, put it in my kitchen sink. I actually have a little kitchen sink up here, so I'm really helpful. Like, it's really helpful for me. And I put this in my kitchen sink and I spray right in my sink. And that way, when I'm done, I rinse the sink down and all the excess spray is gone. And just make sure your sink is dry when you put the layout in there. So, like, I think that's the easiest way to deal with spray because the cleanup is a breeze. So would gesso help? Gesso, I haven't used gesso with, it probably would if you're not doing that, but does gesso and watercolor work together? I actually don't know that. Or do you have to use gesso with, I literally don't know. I actually prepped some pages with gesso, and if we can get to play with some of this, we'll see. So we can try that. Okay, so a little bit of spray. And if you're spraying, like when you're spraying, spray further back. You don't have to be too close because you get like a little blast right there. And I always suggest start spraying off of your page and kind of swoop it across, right? As you're spraying it. But you want to kind of do the initial blast off the side because otherwise you get a lot of concentration sometimes. The sprays are not always like perfect. The sprayer ends are definitely not always perfect. Half of mine don't even work at all. But as you're spraying, start it off your page and kind of swoop across, and that becomes a really good way to work with your sprays. Yeah, so spray, and then I created my own little bubbles. I drew little circles with my liquid glue that I tend to use the most is actually, it's like a glossy accents. Oh, it has stuff all over it. It's called Liquid Glass from Close to My Heart. And I always put a piece of washi tape and a little pin on the side because, you know, you need them all the time. So I keep it handy. So I drew the little circles. I added the little beads, and then I filled in the little circles afterwards with the liquid glass. So that was fun. This one here, I used a template. I laid my, I cut this hearts, and then I stuck the hearts lightly all over the thing, and they didn't go as lightly as they should have. And I was dealing with terrible paper. What was I thinking? But I was able to spray and get like the heart background. It's okay, but better paper definitely would have been better. And I would have had less of the little imperfect spots. But now when I look at it, like at the time when I made it, I'm like, oh, it's so imperfect. And now I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cute. But like, look, I used paper that I thought was really ugly that I would never have used in a million years. And it had a plain white background, so I used it. Do I love it? No, but you'll also see the washi tape thing happen in here. So there we go. So even if you don't have templates and you don't have like the things, maybe you have a punch that you can punch out a heart and you can use that and create your own little template. Kind of like what we did with the stamps, but with your own template. So kind of fun. This one was a template and I sprayed different colors onto it. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's fun. I think it's hilarious, actually. That's a funny one for me. I think I shared this on one of my podcasts too, so I have been sharing quite a few layouts in there. I don't have perfect belly photos. Another template that I sprayed, and this was this the template one or the negative one? I know that I used this paper. Oh, I know, this one was. I made paper and I sprayed it with the template, and then your template is covered in all of this lovely like color and stuff. So then I took another piece of paper and I sopped up the color, and ta-da. Like, it was like super fun and like this bonus. So I got like 2 pages out of that one spraying thing. And literally it was like spray, spray, spray at the top with the pinky color, and spray, spray, spray the middle with the, or like with another, I did another pink color, and then the green, and then the aqua, and then the like the purple. And you can see it was very imperfect down in the purple because I'm just setting this on top of the wet template. So it's beading, it's pooling, it's imperfect, but it looks darn good. I'm pretty happy with it. In fact, I liked this one even more than I liked the one where I had actually used the template part. So templates and sprays, super fun. Sprays can be used with or without templates. You can create your own templates. There's like a lot of fun ways to create your own backgrounds, or just to kind of beef up a background, right? Okay, finally, we're getting there. We're getting there. So this is really fun for me. Texture. I love this stuff and I don't do it a lot, but here's my tip. When you try texture, when you make texture, when you're going to play with the texture, maybe make a couple little bonus pieces as you go. So here, let's dive into this. So here is one of my pages with texture, and this is literally bonus paper that I made. It has the little texture polka dots on it where I've used a circle template. Is it perfect? I look at it now and I'm like, oh, I would have totally done that differently now, but that's okay. But look at this texture. With some texture pastes, they can be like really, really thick and chunky, right? Like they don't have to be flat, or they can be really thin and flat. You can create extra texture just by leaving more of this stuff on the paper. So some of them really can get thick and textury. And of course, I've used this little bit of like bamboo tree stuff, and I've got like little tiny rocks on here too. The little rocks were from Emerald Creek Crafts. But so I've added lots of different texture to this page, and it's just a template and some texture paste, which I'll show you in just a sec. Next up, more texture paste, different template, but this whole template was circles, but you'll notice there's no heart, or not circles, they're hearts. The whole template was covered, but you're in charge. It's like the boss. It almost looks like little white Smarties candies. Yeah, they kind of do because they have that texture in them, right? With this, I left the template on. I covered up part, like I didn't fill in some of them. You're the boss of the template. You don't have to fill every little gap if you don't want to. And while I left the template on there, I sprayed, and it looks soft because the stuff was still wet. There's a little bit of overspray because things are imperfect, but I think it looks so, so cute. Like I'll look at it up close. And if you look like at the hearts, because of the way I applied my texture paste, it was, even the hearts have extra texture on them, right? Because of how the paste was applied. So I think that's a really fun thing. Here, so it's paste, and here, like I've used the Harlequin and I've used the polka dots, and these ones are really thin and really like a lot flatter. They still have texture on top of them, and then I applied a little bit paint on top of them. So, you know, one thing can lead to the next thing, and then it's like, what else can I do? What else can I do? And washi tape, right? Gotta get some washi tape in there. And here's this heart one again. So we've seen this heart. We saw this heart before. Here, I have used more of the hearts. And unless you saw these two pages side by side, would you think, oh my gosh, you've used that heart template before, Alice? I doubt it. Like, you're not going to think like that. But I've totally used this heart template before. The stencil, I guess. And here, yeah, I mucked a little bit of paint on top of them because I wanted the hearts to have just a little bit of color. I made this one during a live thing. Maybe a Scrapbook Live or something, or most of this page during a live thing, I think. I did this during part of some live thing. And then here we go. This is, I think, the final one for the day. We've got texture up here. I've used ribbon for texture. I've got all kinds of crazy paint happening, and that is literally me experimenting. On the perfect eyes, did you use Nuvo drops to write the word eyes? Let's go back to that one. Oh, it's the sparkles glue, shoot, what is the sparkles glue called? Somebody save me here. Like the sparkly glue in the little tiny little tubes. Yeah, but I hand wrote it out first before I wrote it with them because they stickles. Thank you, stickles. So the stickles glue, and I hand wrote it on there, and then I traced it really careful. The key is making sure that you're not getting that big globby thing. So get all of your stuff down in the bottom of that tube. There you go, sticks. See, you guys, we have all the answers together. Yeah, and this was just like mucking around. Is it the coolest thing? Like, I look at that and I'm like, wow, I made so many mistakes on this page, and it was literally just an experimentation of me like smooshing paint around, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna add texture on here, and I'm gonna smoosh paint on top of the texture, and I'm gonna smoosh things around. But now I look at this page and I'm like, dang, that's awesome. Let's see if I can get a better color. I look at it now, it's totally fun. It's super awesome. So Gina says, I love all the layouts. Thank you. Well, thank you. So we are close to the top of the hour, but I did create something and I wanted to show you really quickly one of my techniques. So I'm gonna go just over the hour. If you have to go, you can come back and check it out after if you like. But I have some sheets that I covered with some gesso, which I don't normally do, so we can test the stuff. Oh my gosh, Joyce says it reminds me of a Missy Whitten page. I have never had such a nice compliment. Thank you so much. Like, seriously, she is amazing. Oh my goodness. Like, mixed media artists to follow. Go now and follow Vicky Booten, Missy Whitten, and Sandy Reversky. Go follow her. Mixed media, those girls are kicking it. Like, they're so good. So I love them so much. So here we go. Okay, so this page here that I'm going to show you, I actually applied some texture paste using a stencil. And it's a very imperfect stencil. Do you see how it has like texture kind of built into the stencil? Now, one of the things about this stencil, Kate says I'll post the press and seal tip in the general Scrappy chat. Thank you. So one of the things about this stencil is it has like this big line all the way around it, right? So if I put it onto my page, it will literally just cover my page, and my page will have this border all around it. And sometimes that is like super cool and you're like, yes, but sometimes you don't want that, right? So what I tend to do, especially if I'm trying to create and I don't want the whole, I don't necessarily need the whole background to have stuff on it, I will offset it a little bit so that I can get just this corner, just this edge, right? Just this little section. But I'll offset it so that when I am adding my texture paste, it's not all it actually goes all the way to the edge. Like sometimes I want it to go all the way to the edge. So that's kind of like one tip. Now this paper here, I tend to work a lot with this other paper when I'm not doing watercolor. It's from Creative Scrapbooker magazine. It's called their Super Stock, and it's like super heavyweight paper, but it is not super watercolor friendly, but I do stuff with it all the time anyways. So I'm going to just show you quickly how I apply my texture paste because it's super technical. You didn't believe that for a second, right? So this paste that I'm using is from Liquitex. It's a light modeling paste. And my fancy applicator tool is actually from my Cricut machine. It's the Cricut machine spatula. And I really like it. And I don't use the front of it. I use just the back of it. And then I line up my thing so that it goes right to the edge. And then I start applying my paste. And I'm not filling every spot. And at first I'm not filling every spot quite perfectly either. And so I'm just applying the paste to the paper, through the stencil, and just really imperfectly, because what I will go back and do is correct it to get the right texture that I really want from the paste. Okay, so when I've got it kind of where I think I want it, then I can take it and I make all of it going kind of in the same direction, because I think that it looks nicer on my page when all of the texture is going in the same way. So now I've got them all, and I can leave them really thick and chunky, and I can add extra texture and dimension to it like this. Like if you want more and thicker and chunkier areas, like it's called light modeling paste, but it can be pretty thick and chunky, or you can scrape it really flat and make it really, really smooth. So you have options when you're applying your paste that really give you different effects depending on what kind of look you like. So I'll just apply some of this, and then I'm going to show you what you can do with your other stuff. I need a scrap piece of paper. Okay, so while I still have this on here, I can take my scratch paper and I can cover up different areas. And so I can kind of cover the sections that don't have my modeling paste. Does that one have my, oh, that one does have my modeling paste on it. That don't have my modeling paste. And that way I can go right here, right now, and spray it with my shine. If it will spray. And normally I would do this in my sink. Oh, this one won't spray. Okay. Let's try a new color. We'll see if we can get one of these bottles to spray. They're terrible for getting all blocked up, so. And I tend not to do them a lot as a spray because they get blocked up. So I've got some green that's sprayed. Oh, I really wish this gold would spray too. Okay, it won't spray, so what I'll do is, oh, that one won't even open. That's crazy. Here we go. This one will open. I'm gonna add a little extra to this. And now if I don't like the overall effect yet, or if I'm not sure if I'm gonna like the overall effect yet. Okay. Did we get enough of the mixture of colors onto it? Maybe. Okay, so now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back with my spatula here and I'm gonna just blend it lightly. And mix the colors a little bit. And right now it looks streaky, and that's okay. And we have to remember that when we pull our template off, we're not going to get the overall streaky effect so much as, and then if there's any areas that have texture paste that I kind of covered up, I can get those here right now. Okay, now I can pull this off of here. And like magic, whoa, check it out. And when that dries, like so pretty. Now this paper, I actually gessoed it. So the next thing that I want to do with it is to drip some paint down it and see what I can do to make that spread. I'm just gonna grab this stuff off of here and a piece of paper towel. And then I'll just wipe off this right away. And I just usually clean my templates like that in the sink. So clean them in the sink. Sometimes I'll rub off like some of the excess stuff, but I'll just clean them in the sink. So you can see like the beautiful effect that I was able to create on there. But now I'd like to drip some paint or some of the liquid stuff down there. Do I have? I don't think I do. So I wanted to create oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's more than I wanted to do. But we'll get us onto here and we'll start smooshing it around. Okay, now I'm just going to take my thing, and because this paper has had the gesso on it, it's actually like not absorbing so much of the liquid, so it's actually staying a little bit softer. That's the one that wouldn't open. One of these would open. And I just need a little touch of the gold on here. And get the gold spread with the green. Just bring it all the way up into this corner. Just a touch more of the gold up here. And then afterwards, what I'm going to do in this corner is I'm going to take some of the, I'm going to put that template back on and add them back in white. So I've got the same colors in here. And my layout and stuff, like things are going to be spreading into these different areas. So it all will kind of blend and bleed and it'll all be good in the end. But spread this into here as we go into this. Create the effect. I want this a little bit more at the top here. I want that to be more color. Need a little bit more of this blue on here. And a little bit more of the blue carrying down to the bottom. And so then I'll add the little bit of white texture, like the Harlequin pattern, white right back up in that top. And it's gonna give me the most beautiful effect. Okay, so how's that look? Like a hot mess, right? Like you saw me dump all that stuff on there. It's just a matter of blending it to make it to something that looks livable. Okay, Oh, so that's going to have to sit to dry. This is going to have to go. But what I will do is I will finish this and I will post this on my Instagram. So I can't wait to share like the finished effect of how this will all look, especially once I've added that a little bit of a white harlequin effect back on top of the color that I've just added here. Ugh, yeah. Okay, that looks super fun. Okay, Donna's here. Well, I'm glad you made it, Donna. Okay, so this was super fun. I love getting crafty. I am gonna play with getting that harlequin pattern at the top with the white after this is dried, because I have to let this part dry first. Another effect that I could do is I could put the harlequins on and I could lift some of the color. That would be another cool thing to try. So, but I think because I've already kind of started with texture, I think that will be really, really good. Oh my gosh, Donna said her daughter is in ICU, but she wanted to peek in. Oh, well, I'm so sorry to hear about your daughter. Best wishes, like seriously. Okay, before I get all of this color on top of me, because that happens, let's just soak a little bit of that up. And if I had another project, I could just put it on, right onto there. But yeah, I think this is really fun. I think creating your own custom backgrounds can be something that doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be hard. You can just go for it, experiment. What's the worst thing that happened here? I dumped all that stuff all over there for starters. Like, we saw that happen. But worst case scenario, I make ugly paper and I get rid of it. Like, doesn't have to be that big a deal, right? But hopefully this will inspire you to try something that maybe you haven't tried before. Play with materials that maybe you haven't played with before. I think by challenging yourself to try new things, to experiment a little bit, that's where we find the fun stuff. And you saw simple and clean. We took you right from the simple and clean all the way through to the really messy. And all along the way, you can create different backgrounds that are custom created for yourself, by yourself, that really fit with the page that you want to make and can be a little fun. So hopefully this gave you some great ideas. If you're looking for scrappy supplies, I will post a link below this for, it's a link to ScrapHappier.com. I have an affiliate link there. So if you need to pick up a few supplies, they have some of the things. And I hope that you have a really fun time with your scrapbooking and playing with your scrapbooking. If you're looking for journaling tips, don't forget to go check out the podcast, episode number 10, scraphappy.org/episode 10, and that will show you, I have several layouts listed there, but I share 5 really great tips for making journaling so easy that it feels like cheating. You can also see other links for the podcast there. There's like a little tab right for the podcast right in the menu. And we've talked about white balance. We've talked about journaling. We've talked about a lot of things. So it's been a lot of fun. Diane says, Alice, thank you. I will see you later. That's right. Scrap Happy members, we have happy hour today as well. And we are going to be talking all about diving into our load challenge, the Royals. So it's going to be fun. Yeah, lots of well wishes for your daughter, Donna. So thank you so much for joining me today. You can catch more information, or if you want to get notified about these sessions when we have them again, or other free sessions that we host, then you can come and check that out at scraphappy.org/subscribe. That will give you the spot to sign up for my email list. I don't spam because I just don't even have time. Not that I would spam you anyways. Spam is a horrible, horrible thing. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining me for today. Yay. Thank you. Thank you. You are what makes this really fun for me. And it inspires me to share some of this stuff. You can tell I love what I do, and I'm really happy to share it with you. So thanks for joining me for today, and hopefully I will get to see you again soon. And I'll be announcing more of these Happy at Home sessions as we head into October. So yay. we're back. Okay, talk to you soon, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, right? Do the subscribe thing. That is really great, because then you'll get the notifications. You can ring the little bell. So all the good things. Okay, talk to you soon, everyone. Bye.